football podcast, joined as always by Clinton Boring. My name is Ryan Sadkowiak. It is it's getting real, man. There's some good weekends coming up here the next couple weeks. This one's going to be loaded. Next week's pretty loaded too. We're going to learn some things about some teams, Clinton, here. How are you doing tonight?
I'm doing good, man. It's hard to believe. Again, we say this every week. It's week 7 already. It is one hell of a weekend, man. And it's not just Big Ten. We talked about this earlier in the week. Noon is Ohio State, Illinois, 3:30, Indiana, Oregon, capped by 7:30 at night on NBC with Michigan at USC. But the entire slate is great. Georgia, Auburn, Bama, Mizzou, Red River with Oklahoma and Texas. Do they call it the rivalry or shootout? They call it the rivalry now, right? They had to get rid of
You're not
shootout.
allowed to talk about shooting people anymore,
Yeah,
Clinton.
that's
That's not
fair.
PC, bro.
Yeah.
There's too many people getting shot in this country. You can't talk about shooting them on the football field, too. Didn't you see Malik Neighbors get fucking flagged 2 years ago for doing the shooting celebration? Duh, you can't shoot people.
Hey, he was on my team when he did that in fantasy.
Yeah, it's fucking
Anyways,
weird. Who gives a
super,
shit?
super exciting weekend, man. It's going to be great.
It's the civil conflict now, Clinton.
That's right. Actually, it's
Kidding.
the Platypus Cup.
Somebody is going to hear this and think I'm being serious, and you should be fucking ashamed of yourself. Anyway, continue.
Anyways, great weekend. Was a good day at work. Dude, the weather, I don't know for you, it is gorgeous.
It's
here
nipply. It's quite nipply. I like it a lot.
I
This is
got
my
the
favorite
first
weather.
hoodie breakout of the year.
And
Football
speaking
season.
of, have you ever heard of, do you know what THOs are?
No.
Oh, this was a big talking point at work.
That
Apparently, it's an
hoe
old
over
person
there?
thing. No,
Oh,
I
that's
think
a
that's
thought.
I think that's a
That's a
thought.
TH. Yeah, THOT.
THOs are titty hard-ons.
Oh, I have a titty hard on all the time.
I
Nips.
Yes. Now that I think about it, you always had THOs at work, but
I
one
don't
of my
know why,
coworkers
though. I'm
had.
not cold.
It was so the power went out at work for like half a second the other morning, and the heater just like stopped working for a couple hours. So it was like 59 degrees in the clinic, and one of my coworkers said so. He'd been posted on our like Teams group chat. He's like, I'm so warm in here right now. I'm like, brother, man, the eyeballs poking out of your shirt are telling a different story. And then someone else said THOs, and I was like, what's a THO? And he looked at me. He's like, do you know what a THO is? I'm like, no. So he asked what a THO is, which led to the titty hard-on conversation.
Listen, I am not sure. Like right now, I'm feeling them. They're about as soft as Charmin right now.
Jesus
I don't know. I
Christ.
think it's the damn material the shirts are made out of. To be honest with you, because that is not me at rest.
Yeah,
They are not hard at rest. They are soft at rest.
the dry fit fabric really gets you feeling some type of way.
It
Gets the blood
must be,
flowing.
man. It gets the blood flowing to the nips. Yeah, those
Holy
suckers
fuck.
could cut fucking glass, man. I have noticed that before. I used to be mildly uncomfortable about it, and I'm not gonna lie. Sometimes patients look at my hard nips, and then they look back at me, and I'm like, "Hello, I'm up here. I'm up here."
You know how women feel, Clinton.
Oh, dude. No, it's been a great day. I'm happy to talk some ball tonight. I got a big interview tomorrow after work, and then it's go time for the weekend. How about you, my friend? How are you?
I'm just ready for a nap.
I feel like I say that all the time. I looked at one of my teenage patients today, and I was like, man, I could go for a nap. And they just stared at me. Like, you'll be there someday.
You'll understand when you're
You'll
old
be there
and
someday.
when you're
you,
old and decrepit and sleep like shit all the time.
when you actually you don't have bundles of energy running through your body at all times of the day, and you have two little monsters running through your house 24/7.
I got to tell you, I understand how Elvis died now.
From a drug overdose on the
He was
toilet?
just doing uppers. He was doing downers. Listen, I get it. I get it.
Oh, God.
It all makes sense. No, man, we got a lot to talk about today. You ready to roll here?
Let's do it.
Are you ready? These are Inside the Pylons picks of the week.
I don't think it's fair to say, Clinton, that we have several playoff elimination games this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
But we have some playoff contenders who might be in some deep doo-doo after this
Might
weekend,
be
depending.
pretenders when they're
Yes, depending on how things shake out here. But let's start with the big one in Eugene, 3:30 p.m. CBS on Saturday. The Indiana Hoosiers travel to take on the Oregon Ducks. The Ducks are a 7.5-point favorite. This has come down a little bit from earlier in the week. I think it might have opened at 9.5 or 8.5. So a little bit of action on Indiana in this game. I downloaded the Score app because the ESPN app was pissing me off, and they don't have the lines on there anymore. So I downloaded a different app, and it said on there that Kenyon Sadiq is questionable. I don't know how true that is, but that would be. I'm sure he's going to play in this one. That's a big game, especially for the Ducks, since their marquee win looks like a fucking turd in a punch bowl now. Thanks, Penn State.
Turd in a punch bowl. That's a fresh one for me.
So before we kind of get into the big picture implications of this game, Clinton, because I kind of teased this a little bit on Monday, and I want to talk about it a little bit. This is going to be a battle between two teams who have been among the best in the nation so far this year. We have Indiana's fifth in total offense. Oregon is ninth. Indiana fourth in scoring offense. Oregon, wait, what did I say? Ninth. They're fourth in scoring offense. Oregon is sixth. They're both top 25 in third down conversion success rate, and both defenses also have been exceptional. Indiana fifth, Oregon seventh in total defense. Indiana third, Oregon sixth in scoring defense. Not a lot of weak spots on these teams, Clinton, but one area of potential exploitation in this game is that Oregon run defense, which is 38th in the country, allowing 114 yards per game, which is still pretty good. But Indiana is a team that has run the football pretty well for the most part this year. The concern I have with IU in this game, Clinton, is the skilled physicality of Oregon. We saw this last year when they played Ohio State, when they played Notre Dame. When you're playing a big, mean team, and even to a certain extent with that Michigan defense, too, when you're playing a big, mean team who is physical but is also good physical, this IU defense or IU offense really struggled last year against those types of teams. And I think this Oregon team is far closer to those Ohio State and Notre Dame teams last year than really anything else IU has played under Curt Cignetti. I get that they have a top 10 win against Illinois this season, but now that we've seen a little bit of a Illinois this year, that feels like it's been a little bit more preseason hype and that they're not really on quite that top 10 level. So how is this IU ball able to, or how you, Jesus, I can't fucking read my notes, man. How does this IU offense move the ball when they are getting punched in the face by big, mean, scary dudes who are also really quick? And my kind of referencing on this one is the Iowa game, right? Like, it's not quite the same level of defense as Ohio State. I don't know that it's quite on the same level of this Oregon defense, but it's probably the best defense that IU has faced this year. And they were bottled down for a lot of that game. How much of that was the environment? How much of that was the letdown after the big Illinois win? How much of that was just Iowa's a really good defense? Not really sure. But the issue with that is when you're getting stuck in the mud against Iowa, you're never really out of the game because they can't move the ball. If you get stuck in the mud against Oregon, man, this Oregon offense can make you pay. So that's going to be an interesting thing for me to watch in this one. What are you kind of eyeballing here in this game?
Well, I was eyeballing. We got a guy in the chat tonight. It's our big Hoosier fan, Caleb, with a comment. Right, if you can get it on the screen. Going to Autzen to whoop ass. Do I have the ability to put those on screen, or is that just a you thing?
That's probably just a me thing.
Because I just hovered and it didn't do anything, and it looked like you just touched it and it popped right up there.
Yeah,
Shout
I'm
out
smart.
Caleb.
You're
He
not.
hit his game winner in his basketball rec league tonight, back-to-back champs. Shout out, man. Thank you for joining the show tonight. Let's see what your Hoosiers can do. Ryan, what do I think? Well, I got three keys here, man. And number one is the quarterback battle. They both have been excellent this year. You look at Mendoza's stats so far, he's completing 73% of his passes, 241.6 passing yards per game, 9.9 yards per attempt. He's got 16 tutties to 1 interception. Talk about efficient. Then you flip it over to Dante Moore with extremely similar stats, 75% completion percentage, 242 passing yards per game, 9 yards per attempt, and 14 TDs to 1 interception. Pretty identical there, man. We've got a battle between two quarterbacks right now. You could argue that each has had kind of one test so far, with Indiana against Illinois, Oregon at Penn State, and then I guess to an extent maybe Indiana's had two, what they had to fight through to get through at Iowa. Here's a key note that I didn't know until shout out Solid Verbal. Francisco Mendoza played in Autzen Stadium in his freshman year at
You just
Cal.
call him
So
Francisco?
did I really?
Boy, we are on one tonight.
Listen,
we are on
I
our
have the
A
window
game.
open in the basement, and the air is blowing through on my toes and making it cold. I was very distracted. Anyways, Mendoza played in Autzen his freshman year at Cal.
He's got hard nipples and cold toes.
So then reading my notes, this is what it says. Stadium will be laid. No, the stadium will be loud. Jesus. You can tell I was
So
typing this
that's why
morning
those
with the
nipples are hard.
I know. You can tell I was typing this with the kids around this morning. The stadium's going to be
boy.
super loud, man. All I heard about from Ohio State podcasters last year was how crazy loud Autzen is for 55,000. And then a keynote to add to this part with the quarterbacks is I read that Cignetti doesn't plan on changing plays that they walk up with. They're just going to run them anyways to kind of neutralize the noise factor. And I'm like, well, that doesn't really neutralize it because if they figure out what you're running, you're just going to get stalemated at the line. So that'll be interesting to see the approach there. But the QB battle is the number one key for me. I'm really excited to see these two play. Then number two is the trench play, Ryan. And we talked about this last year with Indiana. They really struggled against Ohio State and Notre Dame on the O-line and D-line. Indiana last year gave up 5 sacks, 8 TFLs against Ohio State. They gave up 3 sacks, 10 TFLs against Notre Dame, amongst a ton of pressure on Curtis Rourke. The Ducks' pass rush has been kind of inconsistent this year. They have 9 sacks on the season, but they are loaded with talent, starting with Mateo Uiagalelei. If Indiana wants to show they can compete with these top-tier teams, they must do better on the offensive line of scrimmage. And then we flip it. Indiana's number 2 in the nation for tackles for loss and 8th in sacks, Ryan. They get after the quarterback. Just ask Luke Altmaier how that went. They're also, Oregon, though, has only allowed 1 sack on the season. So they do a great job keeping Dante Moore upright, and they've also given up 12 TFLs. If Indiana cannot generate pressure on Dante Moore, it's going to be a really long night for them because of the speed that the Ducks have. Final key for me, you already kind of alluded to it. Indiana is great at running the ball. They must establish a run game. What that's going to do is keep Oregon's explosive offense off the field. It's going to quiet the crowd some. If you can settle in with your RPO-based offense and, more on the run there, you don't have to worry about changing your plays so much because you can just line up and punch them in the mouth. Indiana averages 267.8 yards per game on the ground. They can control this game. However, you look at the other side, and the Ducks only allow 114. So something has to give in this matchup between the quarterbacks, the trench play, and the run game of Indiana and the run defense of Oregon. I think this is going to be a fantastic game. Our line is what? It is Ducks minus 7.5. Buddy, I tell you, I would love to see Indiana get this just to see how crazy Bloomington would go, how excited their fans would be. I got this as a Oregon minus 7.5, Ducks 34, Indiana 17.
I had to do math in my head there. Sorry, I'm totally good at that. Good for me. What the fuck? There we go.
Lock of the week.
Clinton, Indiana's going to cover this game, and it's going to be a backdoor cover because they are the king of backdoor covers.
There we go.
So a couple stats that I had here. I've been trying to dig more into advanced stats because I think that tells a little bit better story than just counting stats. We're looking at stop rate. It's a basic measure of success, the percentage of defenses drives that end in punts, turnovers, or a turnover on down. So essentially the percentage of drives on defense that the other team does not score. Again, these are 2 of the best defenses in the nation. Oregon is 6th at 81.4%. That comes out to 1.12 points per drive. IU is 10th at 78.3%. But they're actually allowing fewer points per drive, just 1 point per drive, which is fantastic this year. What I wanted to ask you kind of before we move on to the next game here is just from I don't know if vibes is the right word, but from a national respect standpoint, who needs this game more, Oregon or Indiana? Because I have a thought.
Well, I'll give this then, and then let's not jump to the OSU Illinois because we got our 2 friends, Sammy and Dale's keys to the game that I'll read over real quick for us. Who do I think needs it more in the respect of the eyes of the people? I think it's Indiana. I know we want to argue Oregon. Oregon already has a Big Ten championship. I know they got railroaded in the Rose Bowl. They got a huge signature win in Happy Valley. Indiana did due diligence in blowing the doors off of Illinois, and then they pulled out a win. It was a very hard-fought win at Iowa. I think a lot of the nation, obviously those being outside the Big Ten and even those in the Big Ten, still don't have the respect for Indiana and Cignetti. I think they need this game, or maybe not this one, but Penn State, to kind of put the rest to bed, the narrative that they can't win this big matchup.
I would argue this has now become far and away the most important game on their schedule, given what has happened to Penn State and given that Penn State is likely going to get their shit kicked in by Ohio State before those two teams play. I don't think that Indiana necessarily needs to win this game, but I think it has to be a close competitive game for four quarters. And I don't even mean like from a final score perspective. Like if it's a one score game the entirety of the game and then like you get a late interception or Oregon gets like a late touchdown because they melt the clock and it ends up being like 13 points, but it's close. I think you can live with that. If I don't want to speak for IU fans because you're probably going to be pissed. And I know that the team wants to win this game. They're not sitting there thinking, I don't know, maybe they are. That's how they kind of played the fucking playoff game is we're going to punt because we don't want to get our ass kicked anymore than we're already getting our ass kicked. But you're absolutely right. I don't think like the casual college football fan base as a whole, or even really like a lot of hardcore college football fans respect this Indiana team. Because I think they're like, you combine what they did last year against everyone who was bad. And then when they played teams that were better talent than them, they got their shit kicked in. I don't care what the final score of that playoff game was. They had 140 yards through 55 minutes, and then Notre Dame stopped playing. They got dominated. Then you have all the talk in the offseason about they're pulling out a game, non-conference games against P4 teams, and Cignetti's throwing his barbs like, well, you just want an SEC schedule. And then you see these SEC schedules come up, and South Carolina's playing 4 top 10 teams the next 5 weeks. You don't play an
Florida
SEC
check
schedule,
as
buddy.
well, man.
You don't play an SEC schedule, buddy. Like, let's be fucking real with each other here. So I think there's a lot, and I get like initially the pompous, whatever you want to call it, gritty attitude was as a way to kind of rally the fan base to get your own students and fans to buy into your program. But now it's kind of getting to a point where I think you got to start backing that up. You can't go on College Game Day and say we kick the shit out of top 25 teams and then you get your doors blown off in the playoff. And they got their win, right? But I think that came at the expense of an Illinois team that a lot of people are also kind of looking at now. It's like, not so good.
And we
I
kind of
think that'll-
backed off of that right before the season, right? With Illinois, it was like,
Mhm.
yeah, let's
Yep.
pump our brakes. We were pumping them hard the other way, and then we kind of pulled the reins back a little bit on Illinois before the start of the season, and then
Yep.
Indiana showed you exactly why. I
But
think the one thing,
you go to
quick thing
Autzen,
is-
though. You go to Autzen, you keep it close or you win the game.
Mhm.
No one can deny you that. So I think for Indiana, from a like, this is how you announce your arrival is. We went in
Absolutely.
there, we played a 4-quarter game and we won, or 4-quarter hard fought game. We showed that we can compete with this team. That's the type of thing that gives you credibility, not just in national discourse, but with the playoff committee too, right? Because as much as these people like to say they only look at this year, they don't look at previous years, you don't get the benefit of the doubt if you get smoked.
Yep. And you know how much flack they got for putting Indiana in last year when they didn't put 9-3 Bama, 9-3 Ole Miss, 9-3 South Carolina, which they didn't deserve to be in. Indiana deserved it. But that's from me and you saying that, who covers the Big Ten, and we watch them every week. And we enjoyed what they were last year. Everybody else just seemed like they were annoyed. Well, they didn't play anybody. Well, you know what? They played what the hell's on their schedule, and they made it. And that's what they're doing so far this year. So, the one thing, you don't want to get down in Autzen too much. But if they do, they have a very high-powered offense that could get them back in the game. So
Yep.
I'm intrigued to see how that goes. So real quick before we flip to the next one, we have our guy Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle. His 3 keys to the game. Actually, 3. Fixing the snap count, number 1. Playing aggressively on both sides of the ball. And then last and most importantly, as we talked about, protect Fernando. If he does not have time, the RPO in the pass game or the pass portion of the RPO is not going to work. And then you get down, even though you have an explosive offense, you get down, Oregon can just pin their ears back and come after you, which will be an extreme challenge. Dale Bliss, number 1, pressure. He wants pressure on Mendoza. Number 2, you've got to have pass protection if you're Oregon. We talked about that in our keys to the game as well, how much pressure that Indiana generates. And then pass defense. We know how good Indiana is at throwing the ball. Omar Cooper and Elijah Surratt are the highest graded duo in college football. They are an explosion waiting to happen. If Oregon can't get pressure and then they can't cover on the back end, it could be a long night for the Ducks. And then what did he say? As always, run the football and stop the run. Indiana's a good team. They are tough, disciplined, and well coached. Ducks have to play sound football. And I wish we had Dale's voice to give that to us because that sounds like a very, very good Dale answer.
Before we move on, we'll throw Caleb's comment up here. No one is off the SIG train, and also everyone has been making fun of James Franklin for 5 years. So yeah.
I'm still on the SIG train. I think,
No, not
I think
off.
he's a
I'm
great hire.
not off the SIG train by any stretch of the imagination. But if you want to run your mouth, you have to back it up. James Franklin has not backed it up, and everyone laughs at him.
Absolutely. No, man, this can be a great game. What a great Gary Danielson and
Good. They I was going to say they finally get a good.
Yes.
No, Brad
They've
Nessler.
got Brad Nessler. They got some good games so far. I mean, the UCLA Penn State was unexpected, right? But
Yeah, they probably went into
solid
that.
matchups here.
They probably went into that thinking, "What did we do in a past life to deserve this
But
punishment?"
this helps, right? When the depth of the Big Ten is better, then you get games like this. You get a Michigan USC
Clinton-
game that matters.
Oh, I thought you were talking about you get a surprise game like last week. I'm like, buddy, UCLA is
No,
0-2
no,
in the
no,
Mountain
no, no,
West. They're no.
No, I'm talking about you get games like this. Like Illinois is better.
Yes,
Ohio State and
for
Illinois
sure.
means
No,
something.
yeah, there's good inventory.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go Ohio State next? Because I had Michigan USC next. We can go Ohio State Illinois
Let's
next.
do Ohio State, Illinois.
12 o'clock on Fox. Ohio State is a
Big
14.5 point favorite. This one's actually come down, and I'm a little bit surprised by it. I think it was at 16.5 at one point, and I just checked. It's at 14 now, but I have it at 14.5 for us. Ohio State at Illinois. I don't understand why this is moving towards Illinois.
I can agree with you, Ryan. I agree.
Ultimately, what we have seen this year is Illinois has not been good enough on defense. They're 94th in total defense and 116th in passing defense. Clinton, Ohio State has two of probably the 5 best wide receivers in college football, plus a quarterback capable of getting them to the ball. I do not see how they are going to be able to slow down this Ohio State offense, given what they just did against Purdue, against USC, and against Indiana before that. They have not stopped the pass well at all this year. On the other side of the ball, I think the Illinois offense probably has a little bit of a higher floor than a team like Washington does. I think Washington's kind of boom or bust. And with this Ohio State defense, too, I think it's certainly hard to ascertain what Texas is this season, given how they've looked since that game. But no matter how you slice it, they're giving up 5 points a game. They've dominated every single offense that they have played. And I just struggle to see how Illinois is going to score enough to cover this spread, let alone win the game.
Yeah, what did you get them at? I know the line's moving. What did we get them?
I got them at 14.5.
14.5. Okay. So Illinois is 5-1 against the spread this year, man.
Yeah, but the
Good
one
teams
is
win, great teams cover.
the one was a pretty big whiff.
And it might be another one this weekend. So here's my thoughts. Illinois is best at throwing the ball. However, that can result in a pretty quick 3-and-out for you if you're not completing passes.
Yep.
They've got to be able to run the ball against Ohio State. And what
Good
that
luck.
does
Good
is
luck.
it helps wear down the Buckeye defense if you're successful, and it keeps the OSU offense off the field. If you cannot run the ball, you have zero chance in this game, barring injuries, because it's not going to happen. Ohio State's defense, though, if we're looking at that, they will need to do a good job containing Hank Beatty. 32 catches, 569 yards, 2 touchdowns on the season. We also know how explosive he is in the return game. So Ohio State has to be attentive and find him on the field. Then the other question is that we saw in the Texas game, but more recently, there's a Cam Scadaboo touchdown. That's nice for me. Will Ohio State open it up right away, Ryan, or are they going to play the conservative approach like we saw for the first half in Washington?
Good question.
Last week against Minnesota, we saw them come home, and I believe that was homecoming. They opened it up right away, and they kicked Minnesota's ass from the start, and there was nothing they could do. I don't think, and this is no shot at the Illini faithful and in Champaign, but I think the stadium effect as far as sound is much louder in Seattle than it will be in Champaign. So I think Ohio State's going to come out. They're not going to be conservative. I think they're going to attack right away on offense. I think they know that the Illini pass D is susceptible, and they have elite players everywhere. Overall, maybe this game's close for a half, but I think Ohio State eventually pulls away. I think they do give up their first touchdown. or they finally give up a touchdown. First one in 3 games. 38-13, Ohio State wins.
Clinton.
Lock of the week.
Lock of the week.
Wait, are you locking it?
Yes.
Lock of the week.
You're getting 2 for me, too. I think Ohio State blows the doors off of them. I don't know about blows the doors off them, but I think this is going to be like a 35-14, 35-10 type of game.
Do you think they go another game and not allow a red zone touchdown?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah.
Does Illinois have like a big body receiver that they can just throw a goal line fade to? Because they sure as hell aren't going to run one in. I mean, Luke Altmaier can scramble a little bit, but I mean, if
Damn, so I just
Sonny
gave them a
Styles
touchdown, and that means they're going to have to score from 20-plus yards out. Oh, shit, I don't know if that's possible.
punt
Anyways,
return touchdown, punt return touchdown.
38-13. There you go, special teams.
Um,
38-13.
I don't know if this is technically a ranked matchup. I forgot to look at the AP poll. We got Michigan at USC, 7:30 NBC. The Trojans are a 2.5-point favorite in this game, looking for a little bit of revenge after Michigan had the thrilling come from behind victory without a forward passing attack last year. So if you're USC, you have to be a little concerned that Michigan beat you last year without the ability to complete a forward pass, and they now have that capacity. Checking in on stop rate here, Clinton. USC is 63rd in the nation at 62.3%. They are allowing 2.17 points per drive. Their rush defense has actually not been terrible from a statistics standpoint. They're 25th in the nation in rush yards allowed per game and 29th in yards per carry. But if you parse that out a little bit, they have not really played teams that run the football well at all. The issue for Michigan in this game is USC's defense weakness on defense is their pass defense, and Michigan's weakness on offense is their pass offense. USC is 96th in pass yards per game allowed. They're 86th in pass efficiency defense and 89th in yards per attempt allowed. Michigan is 89th in passing offense, 82nd in pass efficiency, but they are 48th in yards per attempt. So when they do complete passes, they do get some chunk plays there. The Michigan pass defense has been pretty good this year. They're 19th in yards per attempt allowed. Their run D has been excellent. Something I did see in this one, protecting the quarterback is going to be key. There's been a lot of talk about Sean Barnum's move to edge, but the USC offensive line has been fantastic. They have the 10th best sack rate allowed in terms of fewest sacks. I didn't phrase that correctly the first time. The big thing that worries me for Michigan in this game is while their pass game found a little bit of success and maybe a couple of go-to guys last weekend, it was Wisconsin, for the record. But it just hasn't been great this year. And what USC does well on defense is get after the quarterback. They are 9th in sack rate whereas Michigan, pretty good at protecting Bryce Underwood this year, but 32nd in sack rate allowed. It's a gut check one for USC this weekend, man. They have traditionally struggled with physical teams that can get after you in the run game, even though that run D has been statistically good. Really, the only team that they've played this year that's even been really okay at running the ball is Illinois. Illinois ran for 171 yards against them, and that's 60 yards more than their season average. That's not great, man. That is not great. If Michigan can establish that run early and shorten this game, I do like their chances. But USC has shown with that pass attack that they can gain yards in bulk this year, and if they do fall behind, they can come back in a hurry. And I don't know that Michigan has that same. I don't know that they have that in the golf bag.
And they have the added advantage that USC's at home, right? They have the home crowd behind them in comparison to last year where they were on the road when they choked a fourth quarter game away. When you look at these two teams, it's very much a contrast in styles. Michigan wants to ground and pound. USC wants to sling it around the yard. We talked about pivotal matchups this week. This is a big one in the Big Ten race as well of each team's playoff hopes. This would be Michigan's second loss if they lose first in the Big, and this would be USC's second loss and second in the Big Ten, effectively taking them out of the Big Ten race. The key update here, I talked to our guy Mark Calkin of Locked On Trojans. It sounds like Jacoby Lane is full go for this game. Doesn't know if he's like 100%, but he will play in this game compared to he was kind of an as needed in their last game against Illinois. And then Elijah Page. You mentioned Sean Barnum. If Elijah Page is not on that field, life could get really tough
Hmm.
for Maeva. However, the update is he should be playing, and if he's going to play, they're saying he's going to start, he would at least imagine he is at 85% of health. So those are two huge pieces for USC, and in a monster matchup like this, your guys usually try to tough it out if they can. So what does an 85% page give you against a Barham who has been a nightmare off the edge for opposing teams? Ryan went into a little bit numbers for his side. I'm going to focus on USC offense. They're number 2 in total offense, 565 yards a game, and they're number 1 in terms of yard per play at 8.53. The best defense the Trojans have faced is Michigan State, who ranks 68th. The best defense in terms of that's yards per total defense there. The best defense in terms of yards per play that USC's faced is 97th ranked Illinois.
Oof.
Michigan has the number 18 total defense, 283.4, and they're 14th in yards per play at 4.27. My big matchup to watch here is the USC pass offense and the Michigan pass defense. USC has the third rated passing offense at 338 yards a game, while Michigan's been, I would say to their standards, a little more mediocre on pass D. They're 59th nationally at 206.4. What makes that, I think, a little more mediocre is there's no Will Johnson. And the Michigan DBs have been a little more, well, I should say a little less reliable than they have in years past. And when you're now going to face a wide receiver core that is Mekhi Lemon and Jacoby Lane, you've got to be on your best for this game because, as Ryan mentioned, USC's explosive pass game can change this game in a hurry. And if Michigan gets down multiple scores, the only way I see them getting back in it is if they force turnovers.
Mm-hmm.
However, that being said, we live so much in a world with Penn State of I'll believe it when I see it. And I'm kind of there with USC, Ryan. Like, you're giving Michigan 2.5 on the road. I just don't know how they're going to handle the physicality of the Michigan run game and Justice Haynes and Jordan Marshall. In addition to, Bryce Underwood's probably going to use his legs. What have we said about USC in the past couple of years is the inability to tackle. They don't tackle well. They're a little better this year, but this is the important game. You had last year one until you let Khalil Mollings run your face over all the way down the field. Don't let that be your backbreaker again this year, USC. I do agree with Joel Klatt that he said he thinks this might be the best game of the weekend. I certainly think this is a battle, but I like Michigan here.
This might be wish casting. I'm gonna take USC
Because you need them to win.
Yeah, kind of. I think they figure out a way to get it done at home.
I would be impressed. Lincoln Riley needs it. He hasn't had it in the Big Ten yet.
Yeah, I'm just not sure about the Michigan defense against this offense.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And
this is the best offense they've played. Even though you have Mateer at Oklahoma, the all-around offense, USC's is better.
Yes, and I'm prepared to be wrong. I definitely think Michigan has some guys that can get after the quarterback. And if you get in Maeva's head early, maybe you can rattle him into some mistakes. But I also think that Mekhi Lemon's probably the best individual player they've played so far this season. Mateer's really good. Don't get me wrong, but Mekhi Lemon's really good. And I don't know that they have the guy in the secondary that you can kind of match him up with. And Rod Moore's been really good. He's been really good this year, but he's more of a safety. I mean, maybe you shade him over that way a little bit, but I don't know. This is also just wish casting, so we'll see. Let's go to Friday.
It's even spicier when USC plays Notre Dame.
Oh, that game's going to be a blowout. I'm already telling you right now, Notre Dame is going to beat the shit out of USC next week. I'm locking that number up at whatever it is right now.
We shall see.
You give me 22.5 and I would lock up Notre Dame in that game.
We'll see.
It's personal. They are out for blood. I'm just telling you.
Where is it?
South Bend.
Okay. That's fair.
Friday night, Rutgers at Washington. The Huskies a 10.5 point favorite. This is 9 o'clock on FS1. It's full circle, Clinton, that this game is on a Friday night because Washington at Rutgers was Friday night last year, and Washington did everything wrong in that game, everything they could possibly lose due to lose it, to gift it to Rutgers. So it's a nice full circle opportunity for them to right the wrongs of that last year. A couple stats in this one, not a full breakdown. The Rutgers defense this year, the rush defense has not been too bad. It's not great. 45th in yards per game allowed, but they are 101st in yards per carry surrendered. Their pass defense has not been good. They are 92nd in pass yards per game and 120th in pass efficiency defense. Clinton, that is bad news against a Washington offense that is really good. Well, has high ceiling, we'll say. Has a high
Yes.
ceiling, and it helps when you're not playing a really good defense and you're playing at home, which helps. They've been really good at home. Tough road trip on Friday for Rutgers. I am going to take Washington to cover this spread. I like the Rutgers offense, but I need to see the defense do something before I'm willing to invest in them, even with 10.5 points. That's a lot of points for this, especially given the Rutgers offense. But given the home field and the explosive potential that we have seen from Washington this year against bad defenses, not against good defense, but against bad defenses, I think Washington wins this one going away.
So that's my number one thing at the top. Which defense performs better? Rutgers has had a fair amount of tackling issues. That is not something you want when you go against Jonah Coleman. He's an
Ooh.
absolute bruiser, and he's tough to bring down. And then you also need tackling ability when you have Damon Williams, who is super slippery and mobile. The Rutgers offense didn't do well with a, if you want to call it, loud environment with Minnesota, and now you face an even louder environment in Seattle with Washington at night. Here's the big thing. You got to protect Callake Manis, sacked 7 times. In order to have that pass game go strong for them and to stay in this game and have the Rutgers high-powered offense, if he's laying on his back, he can't do that.
True.
Then here's my counter, though, and this is why I have the pick that I have, and you guys will hear in a second. The Huskies got to wake up earlier, man. They didn't get any offensive production until the fourth quarter against Maryland. If they do that in this game at home, Rutgers' offense is more explosive than Maryland. 1, because they can run the ball, and 2, they have 3 very good wide receivers. What I did not check is the status of Tacario Davis, then the defensive end and tackle that were out for Washington last week. Those would obviously be 3 pivotal pieces for them to bring back. Rutgers invested heavily in the portal to try to increase their sack numbers. I wonder if Ohio State, now again, Rutgers won't be able to do it as well as Ohio State, just given the difference in athletes. But does Rutgers try to attempt something similar to what Ohio State did, and that's not over pursuing on Williams, press the pocket, but stay home and make him make a decision. And then your guys are there to make the play if he decides to take off. I think, Ryan, I like both of these offenses. It could be really high scoring, honestly. I'm too concerned about Washington's defense in addition to Rutgers, but Washington's defense for Washington to be able to win this by double digits. So I like Washington to win, but give me Rutgers plus 10.5.
Wow, what a pick there. 12 o'clock back on Saturday on the Big Ten Network, fresh off of their massive upset against Penn State. UCLA travels east to East Lansing to take on Michigan State. Michigan State, a 7.5-point favorite in this one. This is a weird one to pick, man, because in theory, I think Michigan State should win this game. But as UCLA showed us a week ago, these games are not played on paper. The question I have is, what is the UCLA mindset coming into this game? Is there going to be a letdown from last week? Are they actually improved with the interim staff running the show, or was last week that proverbial dead cat bounce that they got in just a weird area too, right? It came against this sleepy team going east to west, playing after a massive letdown. I do think UCLA is kind of at a point where they're just playing with house money. They're growing out there. They're playing loose. They're playing free. However, this is a massive game for Michigan State because if you have any hopes of going to a bowl game, you need to win this game. You have 6 games after this, and none of them are any better than a coin flip. Like, your best shot at a win after this game is a coin flip. If you do not win this game, you're not going to a bowl this year. I am going to take Michigan State to cover, probably against my better judgment, but I think they nut up this weekend.
Starting off, key factor, this is homecoming for Michigan State. So it seems like a good way to get yourself back on track. The key for the Michigan State defense, you got to slow the UCLA quarterback run game. Not just the run game, the quarterback run game.
Yep.
As we watched Nico Iamaiva tear Penn State apart last week,
Yep.
he's leading the Bruins in rushing 66 yards a game, 5.5 yards per carry, and 4 total touchdowns. And as I just mentioned, huge in the upset last week. And was this just this offensive outburst they had last week? Was this a one-game blip? Or are they actually going to continue the success and build upon it from last week? We know Frazier or Gilmore is big for them on the outside, that being UCLA, but they really haven't shown an ability to have playmakers outside of him and Nico. Michigan State. In Michigan State, Jonathan Smith, listen to this. You need to establish your run game. Feed Mekhi Frazier to set up your pass and then help get Childs back in rhythm. Don't do it the other way. UCLA is allowing 217.6 yards per game on the ground. Feed Frazier, feed the rest of the room, pound them with the rock, control the clock, and then let Childs hit him over the top to Kelly and Marsh to make the big plays. I originally had UCLA. I've been kind of wavering on this. 7.5 feels right. I think I like Michigan State on this one, being that it is a homecoming game. UCLA's got a little bit of a hangover, and Sparty gets it done.
3:30 on Big Ten Network. Nebraska traveling east to take on Maryland. The Huskers are 6.5-point favorite in this game. Fresh off of jumping out to their 20-0 lead against Washington, only to lose it late. Maryland's had a sneaky good defense this year, Clinton. Not totally impressive from a yards per game standpoint. They are 24th in rushing defense, 108 yards per game, 59th in passing defense, 119.5 yards allowed per game. But they're 10th nationally in yards per carry allowed at 2.7. Not great for the Nebraska rush offense that has struggled with consistency this year. And even though their yards are a little higher, they are 11th in pass efficiency defense. So it's been a pretty good defense. The thing I do worry about in this game for Maryland is they cannot run the football. And Nebraska is number one nationally in both pass defense and pass efficiency defense. And they have made, we've talked about this 3 different times on this show, they completely shut down Brendan Sorsby, who has been a monster since then. I like Malik Washington. I don't think he's quite as good as Brendan Sorsby. And if they can't get the pass game going, man, I don't know how Malik Washington leads Maryland to score more than like 13 points in this game. I am going to take the Huskers to cover this one pretty easily.
Yep. And I sent our friend Ty Hildenbrandt today. I listened to their show, and he's got Nebraska 34-31. I was like, man, do you trust Maryland to score 31 on this team when they can't run the ball and they rely so much on the pass? The Huskers are allowing, this is a spot they can be got. They're allowing 155.6 yards per game on the ground. However, the Maryland offense only runs for 93, and it is a struggle of a 93. So when you can't take advantage of what your opponent does worst, yet your opponent can take away what you do best.
Yep.
That doesn't sound like a very good recipe for you to win the game.
No, not a good place to be.
Ryan just mentioned how much the Terps rely on the pass. Nebraska only allows 91.8 yards passing per game, and they're a staggering 50% completion percentage to opposing quarterbacks.
It's really good.
That is
really
lights out,
good.
man. I think Minnesota, you mentioned, I keep saying Minnesota. Good Lord, I'm off. I think Nebraska, you mentioned that they struggle a little bit as far as like yardage with the run game, but Emmett Johnson is a really good back. I believe 3 TDs last week. He's got 7 on the season. Find ways to get him the ball, whether it's a screen, whether it's a handoff, whether it's just something else in the pass game, swing right out of the backfield. He's a talented running back. They need to get him the rock. I like Nebraska to cover fairly easily here. I think they're 10+ points better on the road.
Yeah, and this to me is not an indictment on Maryland at all. This is a bad matchup.
It's also not September anymore.
Also 3:30 FS1. A big game this weekend, Clinton. Northwestern at Penn State. Homecoming for Penn State. The Lions a 21.5-point favorite. It feels like it's mid-October. It's a weird time to say that this is a nut up or shut up time for Penn State against a bad Big Ten team, but here we are. What is the psyche of the team going to be this weekend? They say they are pissed off and focused, but why weren't you pissed off and focused last week? What is the home stadium going to be? Like a week ago, James Franklin was talking about how good it's going to be to get away from home, get away from the noise. What's it going to be like if you go 3 and out your first series of the game? They're going to be chanting "Fire Franklin." They're going to be chanting, they just booing you. What are they going to be doing? On the one hand, this is kind of hard to pick because it's a lot of points, and in theory, Penn State is way better on paper. And we've seen what Northwestern's offense does against just even competent defenses. But when you get shredded by what was one of the worst offenses in FBS a week ago, I feel like anything is on the table. That being said, I am still going to take Penn State to cover this game. I think they play with some pride this weekend. Being at home, I think, will help them more than anything. And ultimately, I am just not a believer in Preston Stone against a defense of this caliber.
Yeah, I think this is a chance for a get-right game on offense for Penn State. Every game's do or die now. You lose one, you're done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Your playoffs are over. My other question is, can you just feed Katron Allen? I guess it's not a question. Will you feed Katron Allen? 8 carries, 50 yards, but he averaged 6.2 yards per carry and had 2 TDs, while they gave Singleton 11 carries, and he amassed 39 yards for 3.5 yards per carry last week against UCLA.
Yep.
The better back is staring you in the face. Give him the ball. You need to establish the ground game because we have established your receivers cannot get open. They have no separation ability. So that was my next piece. Can Kotelnicki scheme something up like he used to for Warren? And I get Tyler Warren's a different animal. Can you scheme something to get your wide receivers open to make this a little easier on Drew Aller? I'm not saying easier because Aller's bad. I think he's average, but I don't think he's bad. And when your receivers can't get open, it's really hard, at the college level at least, to get them the ball. In the NFL, you're expected to throw guys open. A lot of times in college, you're already throwing to guys open. But if you want to be the next level quarterback, you have to be able to throw people open. I don't know if you can do that because the receivers stink. Northwestern relies heavily on their run game. We talked about this a few weeks ago when they played UCLA. They're 196 yards per game, while Penn State's allowing 149.4 and 3.8 yards per carry. That's pretty measly on the ground. Stone's susceptible to throwing picks. Ryan just told you guys, if Penn State slows the run, then they can just pin their ears back and generate pressure with guys like DDS to force errant throws from him. I think Penn State wins this game pretty easily. I like Northwestern plus 21.5. If anything, it's like a backdoor cover late. It's a 28-point game. Northwestern punches in a worthless touchdown, and they get it. But
I will not be betting on this because I cannot get backdoored by Northwestern twice in the same season.
Well, the other thing, in Big Ten play at least, what has Penn State done to show you they deserve a 3-score spread?
To be fair,
I know Northwestern's
you could
not
say
good.
What has Penn State done in 2025 to show that they deserve that?
Yeah. I mean, you watch a struggle fest at the first 3 games of the year, then you lose to your first challenge, and then you lose a game that you should have blown the doors off. And if you play that game 10 times, Penn State probably wins 10 or 9. But the one time you didn't, that's the game we all saw. Nationally televised. This was not a Peacock game. You were on CBS for the world to see, and we saw it. But Penn State wins. They get a good bounce back. Northwestern backdoor covers late to get them on this one.
Hell of a segue there because 3:30 on Peacock.
Peacock!
NC State at Notre Dame. The Irish a 22.5-point favorite in this one. CJ Bailey and Hollywood Smothers Clinton is a very potent duo. However, the Notre Dame rush defense has really not been the issue this year. 36th in yards per carry allowed, 35th in total run defense. And after the last few weeks, they're actually now up to 39th in pass efficiency defense, despite still allowing a shitload of yards per game. They had Maddox Madsen in hell last week.
Mm-hmm.
CJ Bailey's been pretty consistent for the most part this year. He did have 3 picks against Duke. He was sacked 5 times against Virginia Tech. And for being a fast, lanky guy, he's only had 34 yards rushing outside of the 44 he had against Virginia. So he's under 100 yards for the season, which is not something I expected when I was kind of looking up some numbers today. I think Key in this game for the Wolfpack, Justin Jolly at tight end could be a matchup problem for Notre Dame in this game, depending on what they decide to do with their linebacker deployment, because we've seen Drake Bowen struggle in coverage this year. However, the NC State defense is not very good, and they are allegedly on their 5th string nickel cornerback. They had 3 injuries at the position and moved one of those guys to safety due to injuries at the safety position, which is not great news against a pass offense that has been very good this year, and Will Pauling is starting to make some noise out of the slot, so that could be a long day for the NC State pass defense. If you're looking for a player prop, see if you can find Will Pauling catches. I don't know what that number would be, but anyway. They're also 114th in sack rate allowed, and the Irish pass rush got 4 sacks on Madsen last week, so could be a potential exploiting matchup for Notre Dame in this one. I'm still going to take NC State to cover. I kind of got burned by Notre Dame last week, and 3 scores is a lot to cover for a defense that I'm still not entirely confident in. I think the Irish score a shitload of points, but it's probably something like 45-24 in this one.
Yep. Here was, I just lost me notes.
I lost me notes.
There we go. So for Notre Dame, Ryan does a great job breaking them down. So here's my small pieces. Don't get caught looking ahead. You have the matchup
Also true.
with USC next week.
Also true.
I think you need to end NC State early. Do not let them linger in a game that they shouldn't be in. I want to see Notre Dame get the offense hot again. They cooled off a little last week against the Broncos. Utilize Love and Price and the run game to help set up the pass game and get Carr in rhythm. Same thing I just said for the previous games. Love and Price, best duo in college football. Why would you not give them the rock, whether that's in the run game or in the short passing game? Feed them, get Carr comfortable, and then you can open it up on them later. I am in agreement with Ryan, though. 22.5 is a big spread. Again, you're at risk for a backdoor cover late if Notre Dame decides to pull the horses off in the fourth quarter and NC State gets a touchdown. So I like NC State plus 22.5, but the Irish win.
7 o'clock FS1, Iowa, a 3.5-point favorite on the road at Wisconsin. Mark Gronowski, I think I saw, is upgraded to probable for this game.
He has practiced this week.
Xavier Williams also probable for the Hawkeyes in this one. You already touched on Billy Edwards, not likely to play in this game. If Mark Gronowski plays and is mostly healthy, I think this one, I don't know, it's going to be over by halftime, but I just don't know how Wisconsin's going to score in this game, Clinton.
I put this one as, is it an old-fashioned Big Ten West slugfest? The over-under is 37.5. I'm going for the under. Because I don't think either one of these offenses are that good.
No.
I think it's the defense that makes the most plays, wins their team the game, whether that's the key fumble recovery, the key interception forced, or just the fourth down stops. And then we're playing the who's who quarterback for this game. Gronowski, as we just said, he's cleared. If he plays, I think that's a distinct advantage to Iowa. If he doesn't, what do they have there for the position there? Billy Edwards still battling a knee sprain, so they're going to continue. Wisconsin is going to continue the 2-quarterback system with O'Neal and Simmons. Like I said, bet the under, folks. But for me here, I like Iowa minus 3.5.
Yeah, I'm also going to take Iowa to cover this one.
Luke Fickell takes another stab with another Power 4 loss.
Yeah, I don't know
at home
if. Again, it was on the road last week. I think Iowa's defense.
Well, no, the Maryland game was at home, though.
No, I'm talking about Wisconsin against Michigan. Michigan was at home last week.
Mm-hmm.
And after that opening drive, they had Wisconsin's offense just completely bottled up. And this is a good Iowa defense. Maybe not quite on the same level as Michigan. Maybe on the same level as Michigan. I don't know. But I see Wisconsin having a tough time scoring in this one. However, in the other late game, 7:30 Big Ten Network, Purdue at Minnesota, I don't foresee anyone having any trouble scoring in this one. Minnesota's going to move the ball. Purdue's defense is poopy. We have talked about that. But Minnesota's defense is also not the best through the air. 84th in yards per game allowed, 118th in pass efficiency defense, 115th in yards per attempt allowed. And Purdue has thrown for 300 yards in 4 or 5 games this year. So there's going to be a lot of balls flying through the air in this one, Clinton.
Yeah, the Boilermakers finally get to step out of a 3-game gauntlet they just faced, and they get an opponent that's a little more to their talent level this time. However, Minnesota is fresh off an absolute Buckeye beatdown and then a close, hard-fought win against Rutgers the week before. Ryan just mentioned this. Purdue averages 399.2 total yards a game, 27.8 points per game, but they rank 109th in rushing and 131st in turnover margin at -7. They are handing out gifts like it's Christmas morning, man. Despite that, there is just something in me that wants to say take Purdue outright. And a part of that is the history that I know when a team takes a drubbing from Ohio State, that the next week it usually does not go well for them. I believe this is Minnesota's homecoming game. I'm going to take Purdue plus 7.5, but Minnesota wins.
I'm just going to take Minnesota minus the points here. I really like Drake Lindsey. Darius Taylor got some action last week. Hopefully he is healthy. I think just a more complete Minnesota offense in this one. Not quite on the same level as Illinois, but I do think Minnesota will be able to attack this Purdue defense in a similar way to how Illinois did. I will take the Gophers to cover the spread here. That's all for the Big Ten slate. Clinton, let's do the Mac Minute here real quick. I still don't have a sound for this.
Give us the train sound.
Do you just want the train sound?
I want the train. Run the train.
The Mac Minute here. The Battle of I-75 Clinton, the only rivalry in college football where one school has a weapon of war pointed at the stadium of the other school. Toledo, a 10.5-point favorite at Bowling Green in this one. Bowling Green has not been very good this year. Drew Pine still stinks at quarterback, but God damn it, I'm taking the Falcons to cover 10.5 in this one. I don't know if they win outright, but I'll take the points.
Toledo plus 10.5.
We have Miami on the road at Akron. The Redhawks, a 10.5-point favorite. Akron fresh off their upset win of Central Michigan last week. But this is a very good Miami defense. Miami looks like they are going to cruise towards potentially another MAC title game appearance here. I will take the Redhawks to cover 11.5.
Redhawks minus 11.5.
NIU 2.5-point favorite on the road in my place of residence. Clinton, Ypsilanti taking on Eastern Michigan in this game. I'm going to take the Eagles. Why not?
You're taking the worst team in the MAC.
Go Eastern.
No, I'm taking Northern Illinois minus 2.5.
UMass at Kent State in this game. Kent State a 2.5-point favorite.
This is the battle of bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. UMass is not good. I don't know that Kent's much better. Give me Kent State to cover this one.
Give me the home team minus 2.5.
Tickets
Tickets are only $17, Ryan.
Okay. Ball State at Western Michigan. Western Michigan, an 8.5-point favorite. I'm riding along with the Broncos, man. They've been playing pretty well. Chris O'Leary's got the defense playing well. Give me the Broncos.
They are ranked second in the MAC right now. Give me the Broncos. Ball State, great performance last week in knocking off OU. I don't know if it's much as you won that game or OU lost it. So give me the Western Michigan Broncos in this one.
And then, Clinton, let's finish up with some best bets of the week presented by Battle Bet.
Sometimes you gotta pray for a victory.
This is Inside the Pylon's best bets of the week.
I have some Big Ten flavor to this one today. I like a lot of these plays in the Big Ten. First one, I have Washington minus 10.5. We discussed our reasons why. I have Ohio State minus 14.5. Also discussed our reasons why. Nebraska minus 6.5. I think this is a good spot for them. The one non-Big Ten I have on here, Clinton. Oklahoma minus 1.5 against Texas. John Mateer is likely to play in this game. That is huge news.
Did you just get that update?
Yeah.
When?
While we were on the show. It's been going on Twitter. He's been upgraded to probable.
Interesting.
The tortilla man was right.
The Chipotle guy.
It's Chipotle man was right. Yeah, I think this the Oklahoma defense is nasty. They are going to have Arch feeling some type of way.
Not just that, but not just their defense, their pass rush is filthy. I believe they're first in the country in sacks per game.
Mm-hmm.
And Texas's offensive line, not very good. So, again, Arch already struggling, but when your offensive line can't protect you, I think Oklahoma's getting a little revenge. I think it was like 34 something to 3 last year. Michael Hawkins was quarterback
Got his ass kicked
in the game last year, and they got their asses handed to him. If he does need to play, though, he has the experience in that game, and he started last week against Kent State. I don't really think it matters which one's at quarterback because I think Oklahoma's defense is just way too good.
Yeah, I agree. That'll be it for us tonight, guys. Reminder, we are not going live Saturday night. Again, we're in a little bit of a not Saturday night rut here. We will be live with you 9 p.m. Eastern time on Sunday. We got to talk about Monday because I have hockey on Monday. It popped up. We'll talk about that off air.
We can move
Whatever.
it to Tuesday.
Well, I also have hockey on Tuesday. But hockey is at 10:50 on Tuesday, so I could do Tuesday if we just go a little bit early.
Gotcha. We'll figure it out.
Yeah, whatever. Okay. Not that it concerns you guys. We'll let you know on Sunday. Thank you all for joining us once again. Enjoy the games this weekend. Full slate. Get your chores in tomorrow night, but not too late tomorrow night because you still have Washington Rutgers to watch. You don't want to miss that one either. Okay, cool. Thanks.